It is 7 o'clock, and I am calling this 13th regular meeting of the Governing Board to order. And I didn't really set this up, so I'm just going to go, Mr. Atkins, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. May we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Matura. Here. Mrs. Greenberg.
Here.
Mrs. Bacon.
Here.
Mrs. Brown. Here. Mrs. Case.
Here. Thank you very much. First on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup material at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have had time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. I would like to offer the agenda as posted.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh, excuse me. Does anybody take that back? Does any member of the board want to remove anything from the consent agenda and move it to the approval agenda? Does any member of the, wow, there's so many tonight. Any member of the audience have any changes for the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is governing board statements. Does anyone have any? Not seeing anything there. No, we are moving right along. Thank you very much. Next is awards and recognitions, and I will turn it over to Dr. Lee.
Thank you. Thank you, President Greenberg. First of all, I'd like to start this evening's award in recognition by honoring one of our community partners. And if I could ask Ms. Michelle Pavnis to please come up to the podium. And you can bring your son with you too, if you'd like. Come on up, come on, there you go. As you know, we partnered with Honored Health in Scottsdale Unified School District to vaccinate pre-K-12 school staff as part of the Maricopa County 1B vaccination rollout schedule. With just these Honor Health events alone, we had more than 2,000 of our PV schools employees receive both doses of the vaccine. The tremendous work by the numerous Honor Health employees and volunteers resulted in a well-organized and smooth process. These Honor Health employees and volunteers also went above and beyond with their friendly demeanor and comforting conversations to put us all at ease. And I experienced that firsthand. Having our district employees receive the vaccination was so critical in a safe return to in-person instruction. We are extremely grateful for our partnership with Honor Health and the services they provided for our community. Tonight, I'd like to present the Superintendent's Distinguished Service Award to Honor Health in appreciation and recognition for supporting the health and well-being of our staff and our students in PV schools. To accept the award on behalf of Honor Health is Ms. Michelle Pavnis, who is the Vice President of Government and Community Affairs. Ms. Pavnis also happens to have some children in our district, and one of them is with us here this evening. So, Michelle, I'd like to bring this down to you. Normally, I would give you a big hug.
We're going to elbow. There you go.
Thank you so much.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to partner and serve our school districts. You might recall that Honor Health started this journey almost 6 months ago, preparing for vaccination so that we would be ready to serve our community. We opened up December 17th and served over 15,000 healthcare workers and first responders. And we wanted to be able to continue to serve our community through phase 1B. So the opportunity to serve our schools, both public, private, and charter. Of course, the unique partnership really we had with Paradise Valley and Scottsdale Unified in being able to vaccinate over 5,000 teachers in one weekend and then come back for dose 2. Really appreciate my partner in vaccination, Dr. Bales. We spent a lot of hours, late hours on the phone getting teachers registered and school personnel, and also the volunteers I shared with Dr. Bale. The school nurses that volunteered from PV really brought great energy. They are rocking it in tent 4. I heard many times was singing and dancing, and I was told that is the PV way. So really appreciate it. And really it's our honor to partner and serve with you. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, I'd like to turn it over to you for more recognitions.
Good evening, President Greenberg, governing board members, Dr. Lee, members of cabinet, and attendees. Tonight, we have 2 employee recognitions to share with you. Our first recognition is the recipient of the Paradise Valley Education Association's recognition of Professional Standards Award for Teachers. The honoree will be introduced by Ms. Susie Seep, PVEA President.
Thank you. President Greenberg, Governing Board, Dr. Lee, and Cabinet, thank you for allowing me tonight to present our props, our professionals, recognizing other professional success. Tonight, we recognize Desert Shadows Middle School. This year, she's an instructional coach, but she's been a math teacher for many years. Her name is Courtney Somar. Courtney is a 21-year PVUSD veteran who even attended Desert Shadows Middle. She's taught 2nd, 4th, 5th, 7th, and 8th. Now she's the instructional coach at Desert Shadows. Her colleague, Deirdre Cronin, nominated her by saying that Courtney has been with Paradise a long time. She even attended DSMS, the very school she's been working at for 9 of her many years of teaching. She touched many families at Sonoran Sky before landing at DSMS. Courtney wears many hats. Since I had the pleasure of starting to work with her, she's been the PVA site rep, our FAC leader, our math IDL, in charge of honors 7th grade math instruction. She is in charge of a lot at our school, but most importantly is the way she interacts with her students. They adore her. They work very hard to please her and be the best student they can be. This year, she took on the role of instructional coach, but is still working very closely with teachers and students at the school. She comes to school every day to make everyone's lives a little easier, to help out in any way she can, to listen, to lend a hand, all without ever acting as if we are overwhelming her or putting her out. How she does this job while raising 2 little boys is beyond all of us. She is a superhero. I don't know where DSMS would be without her. She's the heart of our school and in so many ways deserves this recognition. So please join me in celebrating Courtney. I'm so proud to have her as my colleague.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Susie. And to the board, thank you for letting me teach my dream job. I mean, this is what I love to do. Thank you for opening up these instructional coaches positions, especially this year. I think more than ever was needed. So that was a happy accident. And to those of you that I've taught your children, thank you for that honor. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Congratulations. Our next recognition is for the Paradise Valley Education Support Professional of the Month. PVSEA Executive Board Member, Ms. Cheryl Nicholson, will make the presentation.
Good evening, President Greenberg, Governing Board, Dr. Lee, Cabinet, and guests. Tonight, the Paradise Valley Support Employee Association is excited to present the March ESP of the Month to Margaret Gavitt, clerk at Sonoran Sky Elementary School. One coworker wrote that Margaret starts her workday in the crosswalk, happily chatting with students and families. I am confident her friendly demeanor, enthusiasm helps to start off our students' day on the right track with a positive mindset. When working in the cafeteria during lunch, Margaret makes it a point to have conversations with each student. It's obvious students appreciate her and enjoy their time with her. She has been known to have running jokes with some and ongoing good-natured sports rivalries with others. Positive, hopeful, and efficient are just three of the many words, that come to mind when I think of Margaret. Said a fourth grade teacher at Sonoran Sky, she's an exceptional worker. Whether it's greeting students and family members in the front office, helping teachers to unjam copy machines, delivering supplies to classrooms, she never fails to brighten up the room with her cheery attitude. Margaret could be doing just about anything, including relaxing and doing nothing but, Margaret could be doing just about anything, including relaxing and doing nothing, but instead, she chooses to help out our community and make our schools a better place. No task seems beneath her, and she does all the work as though it is the most important thing, which of course it is. She is a shining example of what a perfect clerk is and is such a valuable asset to our school. These are just some of the things Margaret's coworkers have said in their nomination letters. Congratulations again to Margaret.
Congratulations, and that concludes our awards and recognitions this evening.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again to all of our honorees. Next on the agenda is call to the public. I do have one card, and I just want to remind everybody that because these items are not on the agenda, the governing board cannot respond. We also are trying a new system here to be cognizant of time, and Ms. Chisholm will be holding up. You want to do it so everybody sees? At about 10 seconds. You'll get the red card, and then at 3 minutes or 5, if you're representing a group, you'll get the hook in terms of the mic will be muted. But like I said, I have one card, so Ronnie Milburn.
Good evening, President Greenberg, governing board members, Dr. Lee, cabinet. My name is Ronnie Milburn. I have been a teacher in this district for 39 years now. The last 4 have been at Sweetwater, and it's been wonderful. And the main reason I wanted to speak to you all is that I wanted to thank everyone for arranging for the employees to get the vaccines. As everyone has already said, the process went smoothly. It was easy. Everyone that worked there was very kind and caring. They kept coming by to check to make sure that you weren't having any kind of reaction. And mainly, I just wanted to say thank you. I've been watching the board meetings online for the last year, and noticed that you weren't getting the thanks that you should have been getting for caring about everyone. And so I just felt that I wanted to come down here and say thank you to all of you. And I spoke to several of my coworkers, and they wanted to express their thanks for your caring and taking care of everyone, considering all parties in your decisions. And that was really the only reason I came today. So thank you very much. Hopefully we'll get everything back to normal, and Sue and I will be back sitting in the audience like the last 17 years. We've missed you all. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Next on the agenda is superintendent's comments.
March is designated by the National Association for Music Education as Music in Our Schools Month. And this year's theme is Music, the Sound of My Heart. This annual celebration takes place to promote the benefits of music education programs in our schools. At PV Schools, we believe that it is essential for all students to have a rich, engaging, and inspiring experience in music, as well as in all the arts. We would like to recognize our outstanding music teachers for their work and dedication. Thank you to all of them. Next week is National School Social Work Week. This week recognizes the contributions of social workers and highlights their role in the education process by providing social and emotional coaching to students, supporting and collaborating with families, teachers, and other professionals, and linking students and families with needed services. The pandemic has changed the manner in which school social workers might do their daily work, but has certainly not lessened the need for the services they provide. We are very grateful for the work and dedication of our school social workers, and we actually have one up here on the board who is a social worker by training. So thank you. As you know, we opened our doors to 7 through 12 grade students for in-person learning last week. Our middle school in-person percentage is 66%, and our high school in-person percentage is 44%. We also expect more students to return to in-person learning after spring break. Yesterday, our nurses were trained in Office DX for the implementation for our COVID testing program, which will produce test results in 24 hours. Nurses will be able to take samples from students in their office when necessary. We will also have a drive-up test facility right here on the district administrative site for scheduled COVID tests for students, staff, and/or families. On Monday, we'll be sending out more specific information to our families and parents with consent forms and registration information for our rollout, and this is hot off the press. Our rollout for testing will actually start next Thursday, March 11th, which is really exciting. I want to thank our team who has worked so hard with in-office DX and our nurses to make this possible. This is an exciting thing for our district, and I'm really proud of our team and the work they did to make this happen. So I want to say thank you very much. I want to remind parents to continue to provide support to our teachers. Perfection is not possible when teaching in dual modality, but I am impressed with what I have seen in my classroom visits, and I know what we are doing for our students is really, really good. So keep up the great work, and parents, please continue your support for our teachers. As a reminder, in order to maintain a safe learning environment, all health and safety measures must continue to be followed. Wearing cloth face masks, washing hands frequently, and social distancing whenever possible. And I'd like to thank our parents for their continued reinforcement of our district mitigation strategies and your conversations with your students at home. And that concludes all my comments this evening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Next on the agenda are items for approval. First is consideration of administrative personnel actions, and we'll turn it over to Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg, Governing Board, Dr. Lee, Cabinet, and online guests, as well as guests here in our audience. Tonight, we bring to you a recommendation for the position of principal at Desert Shadows Elementary. Mr. Brian Cunningham currently serves as a TOA administrative intern at Palomino Primary. Mr. Cunningham earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Indiana University and a master's degree in educational leadership from Arizona State University. Brian taught in a variety of settings from Pinion to Balts before joining PV Schools in 2017 at Liberty. We recommend Brian Cunningham as principal of Desert Shadows Elementary effective July 12th, 2021. And if approved tonight, he would receive salary and benefits consistent with the Paradise Valley Principals Agreement. And he is here tonight with family and supporters from Desert Shadows Elementary. Brian, would you please stand and be recognized? Mr. Cunningham, do you have any family you'd like to introduce?
I have my wife, Emily. She's a sixth grade teacher at Sky Crossing.
Outstanding.
And then I just want to say quickly, thank you to the community that came out. I really appreciate the support. That's all.
Thank you.
And actually, Dr. Bales, I have to interrupt because we have to make the motion and approve this before you go on. So sit back down. We're going to make you, no, don't take the tie off yet. Mrs. Matura, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we can do the clapping.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Next, we bring to you the recommendation for the position principal at Indian Bend Elementary. Ms. Marcy Christner currently serves as the TOA admin intern at Boulder Creek and Indian Bend. Ms. Christner earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Arizona and a master's degree in educational leadership from NAU. Marcy taught a variety of grade levels in the Madison School District before joining PV Schools in 2010. We recommend Marcy Christner as principal at Indian Bend effective July 12th, 2021, and she would also receive salary benefits consistent with the PVP. She's here with family tonight.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Marcy, do you have any family you'd like to introduce?
I do. They're sitting over here. This is my husband Dustin, my son Nick, my son Drew, and his girlfriend Riley.
Next, we bring to you a recommendation for the position of principal at Liberty Elementary School. Ms. Jennifer Benoyer currently serves as the interim principal at Liberty. She began serving at PV Schools in 2011 as a teacher, then as an administrative intern. She successfully led Liberty this year as a first-year principal during a global pandemic. Not an easy task as an interim either. Ms. Benoyer earned a bachelor's degree in elementary and early childhood education from the University of Florida, Gainesville, a master's degree in elementary education also from the University of Florida, Gainesville, and a second master's degree from ASU in leadership. We recommend Jennifer Benoyer continue as principal at Liberty Elementary School effective July 12, 2021.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion?
So moved.
If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Jennifer, do you have family you'd like to introduce?
I do. Thank you for the opportunity to continue at Liberty. I love it there, and I'm so excited to continue my journey. My two daughters are at college, and I said to my husband as I was walking in, should I FaceTime them? Because that is the day and age we're living in now. We agreed to no, but he flew in last night from Tennessee. He's been out of town for the past couple weeks. He's leaving tomorrow on a flight, but he came in tonight to support me. This is my husband, Dave.
Finally, we bring to you the recommendation for the position of principal at Sunset Canyon Elementary. Mr. Jerry Withers currently serves as one of our outstanding principals at Campo Bello, where he has been since 2014. With a drive to personally and professionally grow, Jerry sought this opportunity, and we recommend the transfer of Jerry Withers to principal of Sunset Canyon effective July 12th.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Well, she doesn't need any introduction, but my beautiful wife Dawn is here with me. All of you know her.
Thank you. That includes that item on our agenda. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do too many things here. Next is consideration approval of new MOU. I will turn that back over to Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg, Dr. Lee, Cabinet, governing board members, and guests. Through the bargaining process so far, it is very clear that the weight of dual modality continues to weigh heavily on our teachers, both emotionally and physically. In an effort to lessen anxiety and assist in recruiting and retention, we present this simple memorandum of understanding that states the following. For the 2021-22 school year, certified employees will not be required to teach dual modality, and we recommend approval.
Thank you very much. I was going to say. May I have a motion? And then we.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Matura.
I just wanted to make a clarification that this is, this will remove any sort of requirement at all for any teacher to be required to work in dual modality, which is how we've been functioning this year. But it doesn't take off the table the ability that possibly next year a program would be in place to allow for online synchronous learning to be available to some students and some teachers, but it's just not a requirement that someone do both at the same time.
That is correct, Ms. Matura. It
Thank
still is on the table as an option as we develop models of instruction for next year.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And next on the agenda, back to Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Tonight we present recommendations for insurance providers and premiums for the 21-22 school year. The district contribution amount for employee only was equalized for medical rates. The employee cost per month remained the same or decreased by a few dollars for medical. Employee dental decreased by less than $1, and vision costs remained the same for employee biweekly deductions. This is the second year in a row our rates have not increased. While the pandemic and less elective surgeries contributed, considering the national trend is in the K-12 market is around 7.5% annual increase, we are very fortunate to be in this position. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. We recommend approval.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Does anyone have any questions? Mrs. Matura?
Hello again. So I am so appreciative that our rates are not going up again, and I think that is fantastic. And as I was looking at the numbers, it just reminds me that this is a national issue that we have going on. The fact that healthcare is as expensive as it is just, it's shocking every time I look at it, and I know it's that high, but just looking at it again, it's the amount that people have to pay to be insured right now is just astronomical. So I just wanted to make that statement that I understand it's a huge burden on everyone to be able to afford these rates, but I appreciate we're in an opportunity to not make things worse this year. So thank you.
Does anybody else have any other comments, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I abstain, so the motion passes. Thank you again, Dr. Bales. Appreciate it. Last on our items for approval is acceptance of gifts and donations. As always, we are very appreciative of all of our support in the way of these donations. I'd like to note a couple. Heather Freeman donated a baby grand piano worth $3,500 to the music department at Desert Shadows Middle School. And also, as has been their habit over the last several years, and we are very much appreciative of this, the PV Schools Education Foundation donated over $14,400 for PSAT proctoring throughout the district. So again, and there were many, many other donors, and if you're here, our thanks. And may I have a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda are items for discussion. I will turn it over to Dr. Lee for consideration of the pre-K-12 literature list.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Yes, I'd like to ask Dr. Corson to introduce his guest to discuss the literature list.
Well, good evening, President Greenberg, members of the board, Dr. Lee, cabinet guests. Tonight is the first reading of the literature list recommended titles. There are 67 titles we're recommending for the governing board's consideration. These titles join the 444 titles that the governing board has approved in previous years. If these new titles are approved, they will provide teachers a diverse selection of reading materials to use with students that are aligned with appropriate grade levels and the concepts and skills embedded within state standards. This work is never complete, though. Through a committee process, we're committed to continue recommending new literature that represents our diverse community and bring those titles forward to the governing board as we complete those process cycles. Tonight's presentation will focus on the process we followed to select these titles and some highlights about the literature that is being recommended. Next slide. The committee consisted of 4 administrators, 10 teachers, and 5 parents, all representing elementary, middle, and high school. This group was a pleasure to work with. They were thorough in their review, interested in each other's perspectives, and focused on selecting literature that would support student learning and interests. Joining me for this presentation are our 2 facilitators of this process, Jamie Caldwell and Jennifer Young, our elementary and secondary ELA curriculum specialists.
The Literature List Committee began in the fall of 2019. Community was built among members as we shared a passion for reading. We established committee outcomes and the process and timeline for adding titles. And at the first meeting, it was evident we needed to add more culturally diverse titles in which students can relate. The process and timeline included the following. We created a Google form for teachers in grades 4-12 to submit titles. K-3 students are still learning, so we did not submit titles for K-3. We established criteria to evaluate the text, such as it needs to be aligned with the ELA standards. We wanted it to be engaging and appropriate for the grade level. It should have high quality, and it may even represent cultural diverse literature. The team created a color coding system to support the review process. Red meant that it was not appropriate for any grade level. Yellow meant that it may have some sensitive content to review. Green meant that it fit many of the components of our criteria. Last March, we suspended the process with the color coding of titles with COVID. And we picked back up. I want to make sure I advance the slide. We picked back up in October, and we were really thankful that many of our previous year's committee members continued to stay on to complete the process. With events happening this past year, the committee felt it was important to give teachers another opportunity to submit high-quality, diverse titles. In fact, 67% of our titles being recommended represent cultural diversity. We continue to follow the evaluation criteria and process we created from the year before. And this year, the committee added 2 more components for teachers. They include guidelines for teachers teaching sensitive titles. A title that is flagged as sensitive means a teacher in planning instruction may need to review the elements of the book that make it sensitive in nature, such as language, historical events, and concepts that may need to be explained or discussed. It also means teachers will notify parents at the beginning of the year and before assigning the text to the students, so they are aware of the text having sensitive elements. Parents and students can elect to have an alternative title. Also an interactive website for teachers to navigate titles, resources, and FAQs. Once titles are approved, we will have professional development or teacher trainings to share the updated list, website, and ways to incorporate the diverse titles. Most of all, we were so impressed with the way the committee worked together in respecting one another's feedback and ultimately reaching consensus on the list we are recommending to you tonight.
As part of our process for updating the literature list, teachers asked for a more innovative, accessible format. They wanted to be able to look at the list for each grade level individually rather than sifting through the entire list. In addition, they wanted us to add teacher resources, and relevant information that would assist with literacy instruction. We built the literature list website in order to make the content more user-friendly and functional for teachers. It will house the full literature list as well as district guidelines, novel guides, curriculum resources, guidance for teaching sensitive titles, information about diverse literature, and links to online libraries. The website will provide teachers with a wealth of information in addition to the list of titles. After much discussion and collaboration, the committee reached consensus on all recommended titles. The full list of recommended titles is attached in PDF format for your review. There are approximately 6 to 10 new titles being recommended at each grade level. These titles were chosen because they represent diversity, high-quality literature, and high student interest. Some examples include Brown Girl Dreaming, a memoir in verse that depicts a girl growing up in the 1960s, or Out of My Mind, a novel about a girl with cerebral palsy who conquers the challenge of not being able to communicate or control her body. In addition, these books are grade appropriate, align with state standards, and relevant and modern. For instance, Just Mercy, a novel about racism and justice, was recently made into a major motion picture. It offers a modern-day alternative or supplement to To Kill a Mockingbird. Many of the recommended titles appear on national book lists or have been national award winners. For example, Watson's Go to Birmingham 1963 won 6 different awards, including a Newbery Medal. As you can see, the committee put a great deal of thought, discussion, and research into choosing and recommending these titles. At this time, we are available to answer questions or clarify any information.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Matura has her hand up.
Thank you so much. Listening to how the process happens, it's just fascinating to know. I mean, it's such an in-depth process to bring on new works of literature. And I'm so excited to have all of these new options available. I know it's just discussion tonight. So, but I do appreciate all the work that went into it over having to stop and start again and going through this entire process and getting the recommendation from your committee. So thank you so much for your work.
Mrs. Case.
Thank you. I want to thank you. My goodness, that's a long time for a committee to work together. So I want to thank all of the committee members. Please, I don't know if they're listening in or whatever, but please thank them. That is a lot of work, especially when you're not just looking at something, you're reading the books, and that's a lot of work. So I just want to share my appreciation. So let me just ask some questions. So you said there was 444 books already on this list, and you said 6 to 10 at each grade level were added. Is that right? So
approximately, yes.
Approximately. So how does it in the future? Just curious. How can books be added or not? Or I just didn't know. Do you have to go through a process, or does this stick around for a while? Do we use this for a while and reconvene in the future? I don't know.
I know that currently our literature list, believe it or not, has been around in PV for 50 years. This is the 50 years that we have had a literature list. And going through the process that we've gone through now, I think we'll just continue to go through the process and continue to add more books as we need to.
We documented the process this year too, so that when we go through it again, we are considering going through it again, not next year, but the year after, that we have like the process that we went through and we follow the same steps.
So you prepare for, so a teacher just couldn't use a book that wasn't on the list. Is that correct? I don't know how that works.
Yeah. So at the 4th through 12th grade level, teachers are supposed to choose from the recommended literature list. At the lower grade levels, when they're still learning to read, they don't have a specific list.
Right. And most of those books are pretty easy reading, so it's not a different set of. But so when you said that a parent would be called or at the beginning of the year, if they were going to use a book that had sensitive issues, they could choose a different book. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that's how we can go forward. So for language or for content or whatever. And so teachers just can't add a book without it coming from this list. Is that correct?
If it's given for a grade. So if you're doing a whole class instruction and it's expected to earn a grade, it has to be on the literature list.
Okay. Okay. This is something that I've personally, as a parent, have gone to the principal and said, why are we using this book? Kind of a deal. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing with me in my lifetime. So, yeah, this is an amazing amount of work. And I just want to thank you, and to have a website that teachers can look at it by category. I mean, thank you so much. Anyway, thank you again. That's really fabulous.
Thank you.
So, thank you for all the work that the committee did. I wonder, it sounds like we got recommendations from teachers. Have we considered getting recommendations from students or parents?
So we have, representation with our parents as well. And no, we have not, as far as I can know of the last couple adoptions or literature list committees, we have not. But I do feel like we had a process where students, actually, it would be the teacher representing or submitting titles that they know that the students like.
Right. We had some parents that were actually on the committee asking about submitting titles. And the process was to have a teacher submit the title on behalf of a parent or student or whoever would recommend it. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just wonder if that's a way to kind of broaden a little bit, including students. I mean, they are the ones, reading books. So, but anyway, this just obviously in the future, but just something to think about. I've got a couple questions if nobody else does. Or let me chime in. I like everyone else. The amount of work you guys went through to craft all this and sort through and start up again and keep going is Herculean, and I very much appreciate all of the effort you made. I guess one question I have, and I also very much appreciate that we are looking to diversify our offerings. How do you define that? I guess, how is that defined within the committee in terms of when we're talking about diversity? First, in terms of differences from books that are already on our list, and then as you selected books and said, okay, this represents diversity. How are you defining that?
I don't know if you want to. All I know is that when we developed the criteria, it was really important that it had to follow our standards. Most importantly, I was going to go back real quickly to look at that criteria, but we worked together to come up with the criteria that we all could agree with. And at each of our meetings, when we were in the evaluation process, we broke up in elementary, middle school, high school. We just talked it back and forth, and what elements made it sensitive, what elements didn't make it. We just really had a lot of collaborative conversations that moved us forward to the list we have today.
Okay. So when we talk about sensitive, I'm not really asking for an example per se, but how did you reach that point where you had a line saying, okay, up to here, now it's a sensitive topic? I looked at the list and some of these I can figure out off the top of my head, but not all of them. So I guess, again, sort of moving into those discussions, how did you determine? And then obviously you had a list of red books that didn't even make this list. So there was obviously another line that, some books walked up to and crossed, and you decided that wasn't going to work.
So some of the things we looked at were, of course, language, violence, what else? I'm trying to think. Different things like that people could consider offensive. And we had to consider whether the quality of the literature outweighed the sensitive topics that were within the text.
I was going to add to that, the titles that are deemed sensitive, that website has all the resources to support a teacher with the sensitive elements in it. And that was one piece that leveraged maybe a book that had some sensitivities to it, is because we knew that the teacher was going to get the supports to be able to share that novel. So that was one of the things that leveraged, that helped with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. Case?
I wanted just to add some things. Parents who are choosing schools sometimes look at the literature which will be used at a school from the standpoint is it challenging enough? Are we doing the classics? I mean, we're competing with school that base a lot of literature on strong classics that have been used for a long time, decades. And so we have to be aware of that it's not just, we can't just do diversity. We have to do classics. We have to do strong literature, which will prepare them for college in English, to write better English papers, etc. So you've had to walk a line here, and I appreciate you doing that so carefully, so that we can encourage high level literature and have diversity. And anyway, so thank you for walking that line and being aware that we also need to challenge our students with the level of literature to prepare them for future endeavors in educational institutions. So thank you.
Does anybody else have? Anyway, I just wanted to say one thing is that I agree. I think, books become classics for a reason, but I would also, say that we should not look at the new list and not, make any assumptions about the level or rigor of any of these books, because some of these I look at and I think they are classics even now, even though they're newer. And I do think, they were chosen for that exact reason. Not, diversity is great, but these books aren't here just to expand a list for an expansion's sake. So I assume that rigor was another piece of the puzzle in your deliberations.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any? So that was our first read, correct?
I wanted to thank you too. I'm really so impressed that you've included so many books that with an emphasis in diversity. I really appreciate that. And you included one of my favorite books in recent years, Just Mercy. So thank you for including that one. Excellent book.
Are there any other questions, comments on the list? Again, this is first read, so we will be bringing it back at the next board meeting, correct, Dr. Corson? Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Next on the agenda, we have a call for executive session. Mrs. Matura, may we have the motion, please?
Move the governing board call for an executive session in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes, which reads as follows. Arizona Revised Statute, Section 38-431-03.A5. Discussions or consultations with designated representatives of the public body in order to consider its position and instruct its representatives regarding negotiations with the employee organizations regarding the salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of employees of the public body. Purpose, meet for instruction, direction.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will go back into executive session. I've got 7:49, so let's try and get there by 7:55. I don't know when we will be back out, though, to finish the meeting. Okay, thank you. We are back. Ms. Matura, may I have a motion?
Move the governing board instruct the administration regarding negotiations with employee groups as directed in executive session.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And may we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.